stage, and many high-yield thermonuclear devices have a final fission stage. Thermonuclear weapons can generate at least as much nuclear fallout as fission-only weapons. Furthermore, high-yield thermonuclear explosions, most dangerously ground bursts, have the force to lift radioactive debris upwards past the tropopause into the stratosphere, where the calm non-turbulent winds permit the debris to travel great distances from the burst, eventually settling and unpredictably contaminating areas far removed from the target after the explosion. Other types. There are other types of nuclear weapons as well. For example, a boosted fission weapon is a fission bomb that increases its explosive yield through a small number of fusion reactions, but it is not a fusion bomb. In the booster bomb, the neutrons produced by the fusion reactions serve primarily to increase the efficiency of the fission bomb. There are two types of boosted fission bomb: internally boosted, in which a deuterium-tritium mixture is injected into the bomb core, and externally boosted, in which concentric shells of lithium deuteride and depleted uranium are laid on the outside of the fission bomb core. The external method of boosting enabled the USSR to field the first partially thermonuclear weapons, but it is now obsolete because it demands a spherical bomb geometry, which was adequate during the 1950s arms race when bomber aircraft were the only available delivery vehicles. The detonation of any nuclear weapon is accompanied by a blast of neutron radiation. Surrounding a nuclear weapon with suitable materials, such as cobalt or gold, creates a weapon known as a salted bomb. This device can produce exceptionally large quantities of long-lived radioactive contamination. It has been conjectured that such a device could serve as a doomsday weapon because such a large quantity of radioactivities with half-lives of decades, lifted into the stratosphere where winds would distribute it around the globe, would make all life on the planet extinct. In connection with the Strategic Defense Initiative, research into the nuclear pumped laser was conducted under the DoD program Project Excalibur, but this did not result in a working weapon. The concept involves the tapping of the energy of an exploding nuclear bomb to power a single-shot laser that is directed at a distant target. During the Starfish Prime high-altitude nuclear test in 1962, an unexpected effect was produced which is called a nuclear electromagnetic pulse. This is an intense flash of electromagnetic energy produced by a rain of high-energy electrons, which in turn are produced by a nuclear bomb's gamma rays. This flash of energy can permanently destroy or disrupt electronic equipment if insufficiently shielded. It has been proposed to use this effect to disable an enemy's military and civilian infrastructure as an adjunct to other nuclear or conventional military operations. By itself it could as well be useful to terrorists for crippling a nation's economic electronics-based infrastructure. Because the effect is most effectively produced by high-altitude nuclear detonations, by military weapons delivered by air, though ground bursts also produce EMP effects over a localized area, it can produce damage to electronics over a wide, even continental geographical area. 20. Research has been done into the possibility of pure fusion bombs, nuclear weapons that consist of fusion reactions without requiring a fission bomb to initiate them. Such a device might provide a simpler path to thermonuclear weapons than one that required the development of fission weapons first, and pure fusion weapons would create significantly less nuclear fallout than other thermonuclear weapons because they would not disperse fission products. In 1998, the United States Department of Energy divulged that the United States had made a substantial investment in the past to develop pure fusion weapons, but that the US does not have and is not developing a pure fusion weapon, and that no credible design for a pure fusion weapon resulted from the DOE investment. 21. Nuclear isomers provide a possible pathway to fissionless fusion bombs. These are naturally occurring isotopes, 178M2HF being a prominent example, which exist in an elevated energy state. Mechanisms toll as this energy as bursts of gamma radiation, as in the hafnium controversy, have been proposed as visible triggers for conventional thermonuclear reactions. Antimatter, which consists of particles resembling ordinary matter particles in most of their properties behaving opposite electric charge, has been considered as a trigger mechanism for nuclear weapons. 22, 23, 24. A major obstacle is the difficulty of producing antimatter in large enough quantities, and there is no evidence that it is feasible beyond the military domain. 25. However, the U.S. Air Force funded studies of the physics of antimatter in the Cold War, and began considering its possible use in weapons, not just as a trigger, but as the explosive itself. 26. A fourth-generation nuclear weapon design, 22, is related to, and relies upon, the same principle as antimatter-catalyzed nuclear pulse propulsion. 27. Most variation in nuclear weapon design is for the purpose of achieving different yields for different situations, and in manipulating design elements to attempt to minimize weapon size. 11. Radiation hardness are requirements for special materials, especially fissile fuel or tritium. Tactical nuclear weapons. Soviet OTR-21 Tavka missile. Capable of firing a 100 kiloton nuclear warhead a distance of 185 km. Some nuclear weapons are designed for special purposes. Most of these are for non-strategic, decisively war-winning purposes and are referred to as tactical nuclear weapons. The neutron bomb, purportedly conceived by Sam Cohen, is a thermonuclear weapon that yields a relatively small explosion but a relatively large amount of neutron radiation. Such a weapon could, according to tacticians, be used to cause massive biological casualties while leaving inanimate infrastructure mostly intact and creating minimal fallout. Because high-energy neutrons are capable of penetrating dense matter, such as tank armor, neutron warheads were procured in the 1980s, though not deployed in Europe, for us as tactical payloads for U.S. Army artillery shells, 200 mm W-79, and 155 mm W-82, and short-range missile forces. Soviet authorities announced similar intentions for a neutron warhead deployment in Europe. Indeed, they claimed to have originally invented the neutron bomb, but their deployment on USSR tactical nuclear forces is unverifiable. A type of nuclear explosive most suitable for use by ground special forces was the Special Atomic Demolition Munition, or SADM, sometimes popularly known as a suitcase nuke. This is a nuclear bomb that is man-portable, or at least truck-portable, and though of a relatively small yield, 1 or 2 kilotons, is sufficient to destroy important tactical targets such as bridges, dams, tunnels, important military or commercial installations, etc., either behind enemy lines or preemptively on friendly territory soon to be overtaken by invading enemy forces. These weapons require plutonium fuel and are particularly dirty. They also demand especially stringent security precautions in their storage and deployment. Small tactical nuclear weapons were deployed for use as anti-aircraft weapons. Examples include the USAF Air II Genie, the AIM-26 Falcon and U.S. Army Nike Hercules. Missile interceptors such as the Sprint and the Spartan also used small nuclear warheads, optimized to produce neutron or X-ray flux. Few were for use against enemy strategic warheads. Other small, or tactical, nuclear weapons were deployed by naval forces for use primarily as anti-submarine UAPONs. These included nuclear depth bombs or nuclear-armed torpedoes. Nuclear mines for use on land or at sea are also possibilities. Weapons delivery. The first nuclear weapons were gravity bombs, such as this Fat Man weapon dropped on Nagasaki, Japan. They were large and could only be delivered by heavy bomb aircraft. A demilitarized commercial launch of the Russian Strategic Rocket Forces R-36 ICBM, also known by the NATO reporting name, SS-18 Satan. Upon its first fielding in the late 1960s, the SS-18 remains the single highest throw-weight missile delivery system ever built. The system used to deliver a nuclear weapon to its target is an important factor affecting both nuclear weapon design and nuclear strategy. The design, development and maintenance of delivery systems are among the most expensive parts of a nuclear weapons program. They account, for example, for 57% of financial resources spent by the United States on nuclear weapons projects since 1940. 28. The simplest method for delivering a nuclear weapon is a gravity bomb dropped from aircraft. This was the method used by the United States against Japan. This method places few restrictions on the size of the weapon. It does, however, limit attack range, response time to an impending attack, and the number of weapons that a country can field at the same time. With militarization, nuclear bombs can be delivered by both strategic bombers and tactical fighter bombers. This method is the primary means of nuclear weapons delivery. The majority of U.S. nuclear warheads, for example, are free-fall gravity bombs, namely the B-61, which is being improved upon to this day. 11.29. Preferable from a strategic point of view is a nuclear weapon mounted on a missile, which can use a ballistic trajectory to deliver the warhead over the horizon. Although even short-range missiles allow for a faster and less vulnerable attack, the development of long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. Montage of an inert test of the United States Trident SLBM, submarine-launched ballistic missile, from submerged to the terminal, or re-entry phase, of the Multiply Independently Targetable Retrieval Submarine-Launched Ballistic Missiles, SLBMs, has given some nations the ability to plausibly deliver missiles anywhere on the globe with a high likelihood of success. More advanced systems, such as multiple independently targetable reentry vehicles, MIRVs, can launch multiple warheads at different targets from one missile, reducing the chance of a successful missile defense. Today, missiles are most common armor systems designed for delivery of nuclear weapons. Making a warhead small enough to fit onto a missile, though, can be difficult. 11. Tactical weapons have involved the most variety of delivery types, including not only gravity bombs and missiles but also artillery shells, landmines, and nuclear depth charges and torpedoes for anti-submarine warfare. An atomic mortar has been tested by the United States. Small, two-man portable tactical weapons, somewhat misleadingly referred to as suitcase bombs, such as the Special Atomic Demolition Munition, have been developed, although the difficulty of combining sufficient yield with portability limits their military utility. 11. Nuclear strategy. Nuclear warfare strategy is a set of policies that deal with preventing or fighting a nuclear war. The policy of trying to prevent an attack by a nuclear weapon from another country by threatening nuclear retaliation is known as the strategy of nuclear deterrence. The goal in deterrence is to always maintain a second strike capability, the ability of a country to respond to a nuclear attack with one of its own, and potentially to strive for first strike status, the ability to destroy an enemy's nuclear forces before they could retaliate. During the Cold War, policy and military theorists considered the sorts of policies that might prevent a nuclear attack, and they developed game theory models that could lead to stable deterrence conditions. 30. Different forms of nuclear weapons delivery, see above, allow for different types of nuclear strategies. The goals of any strategy are generally to make it difficult for an enemy to launch a preemptive strike against a weapon system and difficult to defend against the delivery of the weapon during a potential conflict. This can mean keeping weapon locations hidden, such as deploying them on submarines or land mobile transporter erector launchers whose locations are difficult to track. or it can mean protecting weapons by burying them in hardened missile silo bunkers. Other components of nuclear strategies included using missile defenses to destroy the missiles before they land, or implementing civil defense measures using early warning systems to evacuate citizens to safe areas before an attack. Weapons designed to threaten large populations or to deter attacks are known as strategic weapons. Nuclear weapons for use on a battlefield in military situations are called tactical weapons.